My name is Joshua Davies. I'm 27 years old. I was born in Syracuse, New York, the United States of America, at a hospital called St. Joseph's on January 15th, 1982. I share a birthday with Martin Luther King, which I'm very proud of. And I'm making this video to say that I finally found out the secret of the Matrix, the quantum matrix, and I finally found out exactly how they control us and brainwash us. The first thing is, I want people to understand and listen to me. Pay attention to this. If you think it makes sense, I want you to try it. And if it works for you, I want you to do me the biggest favor you could ever do me, and use the PayPal donate button at the bottom of the page. Right now I'm homeless by choice, because I realize that there are things in life that are a lot more important than money, but I have put a lot of people through hell because of this choice, including my family, my parents, but especially my family that I love very much. Samantha, my beautiful girlfriend, and our children, Joshua Adam here, Ashley here, Carol Horn, Megan and Morgan Shaw, and my Samantha's daughter together, Brianna J. Davies. Right now they're in Pennsylvania, and they're kind of in an uncomfortable position in a small apartment, basically because of me. We were living in a small place up here. My father was letting us stay for free, and I was working as a freelance web designer, a Flash action script programmer. Well, I get in trouble with the law because I don't really like authority, and I wasn't supposed to be going there. My dad kicked me out, made me leave because me and Samantha would fight sometimes, and he didn't want the kids seeing it, and he cared about us, and he cared about the kids and their well-being. And her and the kids wanted me to come and see them, so I would go there anyways. And she decided to leave and go down to Pennsylvania, because rather than be controlled by my father and kept from seeing me. The most important thing is, the first thing is, if you've ever looked at the sky and you've seen what they call squiggly lines, Stewie from Family Guy even made a poem about them. I'm sure you could probably find it if you look it up on Google or YouTube. Well, I found out that there are bacteria that lives in your eyes, and I learned from someone a while ago, I don't know who it was, but that they use ultraviolet radiation to kill the bacteria on chicken, salmonella, before they send it to grocery stores. And I decided to try an experiment and to look at the sun and try to kill the bacteria in our eyes, because that's what that is. And what they do is they shit and piss in the mucous membranes of our eyes, and it creates a thin layer or coating which prevents us from seeing ultraviolet radiation, which humans can naturally do. And I learned from Timothy Leary that the brain is a photovore, it feeds on light. You can actually get energy from staring at the sun, but that's not all. Quantum physics allows you to get energy from anything, free energy, just by believing it and visualizing yourself absorbing that energy. So if that makes sense to you about the bacteria in your eyes, please do try looking at the sun and staring at the sun, and you will get a small spiral in the center of your vision. It's a flickering, hovering spiral that looks almost like a heat wave, and you can use this to focus on for meditation and for visualization. Now to the brainwashing and programming. what they do is they brainwash and program us from birth. Well, here in the United States, in some cities, there's over 56 types of pharmaceuticals in the drinking water. Antidepressants, blood thinners, female hormones, all kinds of crazy stuff. And that is one of the things that makes a lot of us sick, makes a lot of us crazy, and makes a lot of us agitated and gives us ADD. Now, this is one of the last countries in the world to still use fluoride, which is a neurotoxin that does damage to the brain, and it also weakens the bones and damages the teeth. It causes something called dental fluorosis and skeletal fluorosis. They also put chlorine in our water, which can cause cancer. And when you mix chlorine and fluoride, it can create a chemical that can leach the lead off of pipes. So they've been poisoning us slowly with our drinking water. I do believe that our government was overthrown from the inside a long time ago, and they've been slowly doing this to the American population ever since. With these drugs, they use a multitude of different things, mostly colors, images, symbols, and frequencies, and sounds, to brainwash us and keep us in negative states of emotion. And one of the other things that hurts our bodies physically is we are constantly surrounded by electromagnetic waves. And these waves usually are in frequencies that are harmful to the human body and harmful to our health effects. The flicker rate of television, the flicker rate of light bulbs, regular light bulbs, fluorescent light bulbs, all kinds of things that our brain tries to match the frequency, because our brains are electromechanical machines, and they try to mimic the dominant frequency of any given area that they see or hear, whether it's a flickering pattern of light or a vibration of sound. And they've been using a combination of these things to brainwash us and keep human beings locked in the third dimension, because we are multidimensional beings. We can travel the fourth dimension, which is time, at will, into the past and future, and we can also travel the fifth dimension at will, and in the future, who knows what other dimensions we may be able to reach. Okay, the military created the road system and the signs that we use here in the United States, and they based the road system on something a way that our brain stores information. It's called the neural network, and we store things in this neural network on an associative basis. So, for example, take a stop sign. When you look at a stop sign, you see the color red, you see an octagon, you see the word stop, which is a symbol, you see the color white from the word stop, and you think of the action stop. And what this does is it embeds this into our brain that many times, and God knows however other many times, because some of these signs I can see now seem to use holograms, and there may be many more things embedded in them that I don't know about, and I'd like people to wake up and start looking for these signs and doing things about it. They also use the lines in the road. I want to talk about an experiment that you can Google this experiment, where they take rats or mice and put them in a maze with walls with nothing but vertical stripes, and they leave them in there for a while. And what this does is the brain constantly recreates the neural network that it stores information, and it's constantly changing. At least it's supposed to be constantly changing with new input and new information. And if you're surrounded by the same information and you're doing the same routine every single day, day in and day out, that becomes your only reality. You can get stuck in that reality, kind of like Groundhog Day. And what the brain does is it creates amino acids, and it builds the neurons in your brain. And anytime you change your mind, it literally does mean change your mind. It creates new acids and peptides that dissolve those neural networks, and then it fills them in again with the new information. And our brains are constantly changing, therefore we are constantly changing. And if you're stuck in the past and you have feelings of guilt or hopelessness and sorrow and despair, you can get stuck and locked in that state of mind. Those are low frequencies. The higher frequencies are happiness, love, laughter, joy. Well, they also use different forms of subliminal messages in the television programming. One of them is called binaural beats, and this is why they like to use high definition television, sound and video. They can play tones, one tone in the right ear, one tone in the left ear, and they're slightly different. And the difference between these tones creates a third tone in the center of your brain, and it creates kind of a warble, like. Now the frequency of that warble can store information, and that is how they program us. They program us with that information. They can put data, images, voice. I'm pretty sure they can put anything they want into it, and they program this into our brains, and we don't see it or hear it because we're not looking for it and we don't expect it. And with all the noise pollution and all the different types of pollution around us, we've become desensitized to higher frequencies and lower frequencies. I think that's part of the reason that we've been using gasoline automobiles for so long, internal combustion engines, is because of the frequencies and the noise of the cars and the noise pollution that they create desensitize us. If they were using electric vehicles, I think that the sound from the electric motor constantly around us, the higher frequencies, would actually help people and evolve people and make them feel better instead of doing what they do now. Now, the circuitry in our house is around 60 hertz, I believe. You can look it up on Google, but check out what that frequency does to the human body and to the human brain. Also, the flicker rate on the television, 29.97 frames per second, at least here in the United States. And I'm pretty sure that when Shakespeare said all the world's a stage, he was telling the truth. All the governments of this world are really controlled by a small group of rich elite, most likely bankers and Zionists, and it's an act. There are a few forms of population control that they use that they act like they don't know any better, but they do. One of them is cigarettes, of course. One of them is alcohol, which causes car accidents, beating wives and beating children, and negative emotions in the family, and fights, which contributes to the programming that we have and that we pass down onto our children unintentionally. The programming that we get from the television and from our parents and from society in general, educational system, religious systems, basically they try to keep us negative all of the time because that's the only way that they can affect us, because whoever these people are, they are on a lower dimension than us, and we are multi-dimensional beings, and they're trying to trap us in the third dimension. And my goal with this video is to help the world to ascend to the seventh dimension together. I think it's time. I think we've been stuck here long enough, and they have technology way ahead of what they share with us, the working class of America. And people can say whatever they want about me, being homeless. I am a very intelligent person. I'm self-taught. I was kicked out of school when I was about 16. Got my GED when I was 16. Lived with my grandparents for a while, and I have done almost every kind of work you can imagine. I worked on a garbage truck in Florida. I worked in an aluminum foundry in Pennsylvania. I've worked at all different types of fast food restaurants. I've worked as a freelance programmer. I worked at Business Cards Tomorrow as a typesetter. I could go on and on. I've worked through day labor and done all kinds of different jobs, but none of them ever struck the right chord with me. I always felt like I had to run away and get away to nature for some reason, and that is part of the reason that I put my family and friends through hell. I've made them crazy, some of them, with my theories and the things that I've read, whether wrong or right, while I was learning this secret, the secret of the Matrix, which is the same thing as positive thinking and, like, the book The Secret, and it's basically quantum physics. It's that reality is an illusion. And I'm gonna take one of my favorite quotes. It's from Bill Hicks, a comedian called Bill Hicks, which I encourage all of you to go look up. He was a genius. He said, "Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration. We are all one consciousness viewing itself subjectively. There's no such thing as death. Life is only a dream and we're the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather." Now what he did was, he said something that was beautiful and profound, and he ended it with a mnemonic, a hypnotic trigger that they use in the news, a keyword. Here's Tom with the weather. And he did that to embed it in people's brains. And the band Tool used this on a track of their CD Enema, and I encourage you to look up Tool. There are other bands out there who try to sneak the messages out through code, and some of them through plain English, and people think that they're just lyrics, but they are talking literal. 311, I encourage everybody to go out there and look up the CD that 311 has called Evolver, and it's basically a step-by-step guide on how to evolve yourself. Now, one of the things that they've been doing recently to control us and to actually manipulate reality and shift dimensions, like when George Bush was Time Magazine's Man of the Year for changing reality to suit his design. Well, the United States created something called the Department of Misinformation a while back, and when they created themselves, they said that they were going to plant false news stories in different countries around the world, but they couldn't help those false news stories from leaking to America, and Americans getting a whiff of some of those. And basically what they did is they gave themselves a license to lie when they said that, and nobody did anything. See, what they do is they use the news to test populations. They've been putting things on the news lately, especially of mothers getting tased, old people getting tased and beat, and what this is doing is desensitizing us to it and getting us used to seeing it. And every time something like that happens on the news and we the people don't stand up and do something about it, we allow that to happen to us later. And that's how they change the rules, and that's how they change the law. And I want to have the people of this world realize that we create our own realities. We are immortal beings who never die, and we've been drugged and brainwashed since birth, and there's a lot of bad things in this world: murderers, rapists, child molesters, criminals, insane people. It's because nobody can tell how this type of programming from the television is gonna act on every single individual, because every individual's soul and mind is different. And when I say soul, I mean there is a physical soul to our body, and it's just a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum that we can't really usually see, feel, or hear. We get a taste of it during certain things, like exceptionally high drug experiences, LSD, trips, mushrooms. I personally was addicted and used something called Corseed cold and cough. It's a chemical called dextromethorphan hydrobromide, and it's a disassociative anesthetic. And I've done experiments with it for years and years because I've always been interested in hallucinations. And what I realized is hallucinations are nothing but frequencies of the electromagnetic spectrum that we cannot normally see, but we can see when we're on different drugs, because they raise the frequency of our brain, and they do different things to the chemical makeup of our brain, which in turn affects our visual cortex. And I'm no master at this. I'm not a neurobiologist, but I've studied neurobiology and quantum physics, and they should be teaching quantum physics in school because it's a lot easier to learn than regular physics. And then The reason that they don't is because if they did, they'd have high school students running around that know that they can't die and they won't be able to control us. They can't control us any longer. We don't need governments. The most plentiful food source that I've found so far on this planet, the most plentiful food source is dandelions. They contain most of what we need to stay healthy and live and to detoxify our bodies. I've been surviving on dandelions and red clover, and actually regular food from the stores is starting to taste not that great to me, and I still do eat it sometimes, even though I know it has things in it that are bad for me, preservatives. Which preservatives, what they do to us is our body is constantly shedding and changing like our brain. It's like a muscle. If you don't use these muscles, you lose them. But if you do use them, they constantly tear apart and rebuild themselves in better, new ways. And this is a part of evolution. Like our skin is constantly dying and falling off of us, but we're constantly regrowing new skin. Well, they put these things in our diets, mostly the fluoride to affect our bones and our brains. And over long periods of time, ingestion of small amounts of fluoride can reduce a person's IQ by up to 40%. And dentists and doctors are trained that this isn't true, and they're trained to ignore this type of stuff. And they're trained that if people say something to them, that they're loony conspiracy theorists, and that they just are following something that they read on the internet that really makes no scientific sense, but it does. It's proven. Most of the world has made fluoride illegal. The European Union just made it illegal to put fluoride in the water supply because it's a medication. It's an undosed medication, and it's very bad, and we need to get it out of our water. That's one of the first steps. We need to start filtering our water at water treatment plants with reverse osmosis filters and ultraviolet radiation. And they use the lines in the road and the colors in the roads and the colors in the signs everywhere surrounding us to program us, because colors are nothing but a frequency of light, the electromagnetic spectrum, and they use different sounds. And lately they've been using the radio towers that look like cell phone towers that have been popping up everywhere to generate extremely low frequency waves, ELF waves, to manipulate our brain waves and keep our brain waves in a somnambulant state where we're constantly ready for programming. And law enforcement, doctors, dentists, and hypnotists use a process called NLP, neuro-linguistic processing, and it's a way of saying your words, which I'm doing right now, and it's specifically speaking in a monotone and clipped sentences and different words to embed things in different portions of the brain. And cops use this when they're questioning people, and when they need to use some of the programming that's embedded in us in television. And a lot of us are programmed to snitch on each other and tell on each other, but some of us are able to break that programming. And those people are usually outcasts in society, and they're made to be told that they're crazy. I started taking a lot of Quercetin to stay awake, and people around me told me was going crazy and that I needed to stop taking these drugs because I started talking faster and learning in an accelerated manner. And they kept telling me, well, these drugs really aren't helping you, they just think you are. Well, they're trained to do that. It's part of their programming, because when they say that, if I came to believe that I was wrong and I didn't believe in myself, I would start to think that I was crazy and I would become crazy. And if enough people believe that you're crazy, they can make you crazy. There's so much I wish I could say, and I may put more videos up, but the most important thing in the world to me is my family, and my beautiful girlfriend Samantha and her children. And I really want them to have a house, and I would appreciate it if these things work for you and this makes sense to you, or even if you think I'm a babbling lunatic who is a bad father, please just look below. There's a PayPal donate button. Just donate $1 and pass a link to this video on to everybody and anybody you know, because I want to get this out and I really want to give them a happy life. And right now they are stuck in the material world, and what would make them happy is money and a place to live. And I plan on increasing my knowledge because I found out that knowledge is real power. It's not money. They tricked us into thinking it was money a long time ago. And we have this shitty economic system using the Federal Reserve that constantly manipulates the money supply and constantly manipulates inflation, and they constantly manipulate the stock market using speculation and quantum physics, and they've been manipulating reality. And the Department of Misinformation, after they opened, I don't even remember how long after it was, but they supposedly closed. Well, this was after they gave themselves a license to lie to us. They never really closed. One of the things that they opened is a site called Infowars.com. And after 9/11, George Bush and the Bush administration used, and the people who are really in power, who most of us will never even know or see or hear, they used that tragedy and quantum physics to change the reality, and change the reality into the fact that the government committed 9/11, and that it was an inside job, and that there was nanothermite and thermitic material in the buildings. And most of Europe now knows that 9/11 was an inside job, but most of America still doesn't know because we're so drugged and brainwashed. There's a lot of bad things going on right now with FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security, and they've been building concentration camps all over the country. These radio towers that they're using, if you go to Google and you look, you can find something called a brainwave generator, and what I used partly to unlock my mind is something, it's the frequency called the awakened mind, and I plan on taking these mind control towers that they have all over the country, and these boxes that they've been putting on telephone poles that let out these extremely annoying frequencies that we come to ignore but still get pounded into our brains every day. And I'm going to try to reverse engineer it, and I want your help. We can change these frequencies to healing frequencies that will literally make it so we can't get sick, so we don't have these negative emotions anymore, and so that we can evolve and learn in an accelerated manner. And we could evolve so fast that this planet will have no choice but to rise to a higher dimension. And maybe we can help others in lower dimensions as well, because the one constant in the universe is truth, mathematics, and truth and love. And these things are high frequencies, and low frequencies are fear, confusion, anger, hate, which we're brainwashed into thinking that these are something called emotions, and that when we feel these things, that means that we're in that state of emotion. No. Annoyance, I do believe, is when your brain is redissolving the neurons and rebuilding it. And we're trained that when we get annoyed, we flip out on people and we tell them to get the fuck out of our face and go away. I'm no longer welcome in my parents' house because of all of my theories, and they blame me for Samantha leaving with the kids, when it was really because of the problem my father has with control. And I don't blame everything on him. I would have never figured any of this out if it weren't for him. He told me things when I was a child that I remember now, that I've remembered all my life, that they gave me clues and hints. And it's because he's immortal too, but he just doesn't know it anymore. Most of us don't. And there's people like me waking up everywhere, and they don't all know completely why or how they're brainwashed, but they know that they are, and they know there's something wrong with the system. America was an experiment. It was. I think the Nazis won World War II, and we were taken over from the inside. I don't know if it was by the Nazis or if it was by China and Russia or what, but all these governments are working together to control their own populations with this technology. And they're planning on a major offensive soon of population reduction, and we can stop that because we don't need it. The way things are going now, we do, because we constantly pollute and consume. We're useless consumers. We are. I understand that. Well, we don't need to be. Every single thing that we throw away in our garbage is recyclable. Everything, down to the garbage bag. Everything that's food that we throw away while these people are starving all around the world can be used as compost to grow more food. And I'm sure other people can think of all kinds of different ways that all these other things can be recycled. But all we throw out, what is in your garbage? Take a fucking look. It's plastic, it's cardboard, it's aluminum, it's metal, it's glass, it's things that are recycled every single day, but we don't do it because we're too fucking lazy. We're too lazy because we've been brainwashed into this somnambulant state, and we walk around like zombies and have no clue what kind of automatons they've turned us into. We could recycle everything, and you know what? You could make money off of it. You could, if a group of people got together and took their friends and family and started saying, okay, I'm not going to throw my garbage away anymore. We're going to start separating it beforehand. We're going to make a garbage can that's separated into 5 different compartments where you can separate plastic, glass, metal, cardboard, paper, whatever, what have you. And each month we'll all pool and pile this together and take it to the recycling factory and get paid for it. And when we have enough money, we can create electric vehicles or biodiesel vehicles and create a company that actually does free garbage removal or pays people for garbage removal because they get to recycle everything and make a profit off it. And when you're done with that, why not buy the fucking garbage dumps where we've been burying all this garbage for years and years and years? Dig them up, recycle that. We can save the planet. We can reverse this process, and it's not too late. I want everybody out there to do what they can to fuck the system, because the military-industrial complex owns every major corporation that's out there. You have no clue. They own McDonald's, they own Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's. They were brilliant. And if I could think of this plan, a plan to create all the competition, it's a monopoly with just different people's names, and they've agreed to keep it in certain bloodlines and families for generations, since kings and queens, and it's worked, and a lot of people know it, but most people haven't figured out all the pieces to the puzzle, and I'm not saying that I have. There's probably a lot more, but there's a world all around us that we can't see or hear because we were trained not to see or hear it, just like the experiment with the rats. I want you to go online and look this stuff up. Look it up for yourself. Quantum physics is the answer. There is free energy everywhere, and if people visualize it, you can walk over the grass, and if you visualize yourself walking over the grass and the static electricity that's generated from the wind blowing through the hair on your arms, or even the static electricity that's generated from the earth spinning and the wind going through the trees and the grass, constantly creating static electricity that's all around us going into our bodies, you can use that instead of eating food and drugged up cows that we eat. Okay, yeah, it's okay to eat meat. You want to eat meat? You eat meat, fine, but eat real meat. Eat meat with the life force and electromagnetic energy still in it, because we use that. We're eating meat that's drugged up and dead and burned, and all the nutrients are burned and cooked out of it as much as possible. They're putting drugs in the foods and fruits and vegetables that they're growing. It's called pharma crops with genetic modification, and Monsanto Corporation needs to go. They need to burn. Walmart needs to go. They're destroying the planet. They're literally creating more and more consumers. I mean, think about this. The people that work at Walmart, they make just enough money to get by, and then they go home and they sit down and they watch fucking TV and they watch these advertisements, and when they want to get groceries and toys, where do they go to spend them hard-earned money that they made working at Walmart? They go to fucking Walmart because it's the only place that is cheap enough for them to survive and still have a little bit extra money to feed their habits, like cigarettes or lottery tickets or whatever they use to fill that hole that they have no idea what that hole is. And that hole is part of our electromagnetic body, and it includes our chakras and our souls. And I plan on doing a lot more, but please help me get a house for Samantha and the kids. And I am going to start reverse engineering the antennas that they're using on these mind control towers, and I'm planning them with the brainwave frequencies that I use in my brainwave generator to see if I can evolve town after town. And I want other people to try to do the same. I want hackers to get online. They have been doing this. There is a war going on that you have no idea. This is World War III. It could be World War IV for all I know. It's an information war. knowledge is power. Right now, I would say Google is at the top of the game. But we can stop that. We can stop using Google. They use our searches and they use our knowledge in Wikipedia and they use data scraping to collect every single scrap of information on this earth. If we do this and we get rid of all these electromagnetic negative frequencies and we can start putting positive frequencies into us, we will evolve at such an accelerated rate that this planet will have no choice but to ascend. The whole planet this time. The whole planet. So please, donate if possible, help me. If not, just please send a link to other people who may understand this or may just look these things up for themselves and pass the link on. I really care for my family. I'm not going down there right away, but I do eventually plan on spending my days with them and teaching my children, who I consider them all my children, how to do this and use this free energy once I've mastered it as well as I possibly can with meditation and study of all the old world books like Wicca and all different kinds of magic and that has been crucified and the lost knowledge that we've had from history down the years, because they've known this for 1,000 years and they've kept it for 1,000 years. So please help me, whether it's to go outside start picking up garbage off the side of the road, or do the recycling thing that I talk about, or come up with good ideas. I am a programmer, and I'm a damn good programmer. I'm a Flash Action Script 2 programmer, and I'm moving on to Action Script 3, and I'm gonna create some programs. I think I can create a program that will embed information in us with sound and light, and directly upload information to our brain. Sony has a patent with something exactly like that, and if they can do this with the TV, we can do it with computers, okay? They probably already are. Just so you know, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, Alex Jones, they work for, it's part of an offshoot of the CIA brainwashing program that they had called MK Ultra. I want you to go look that up. They used physical and mental abuse and trauma-based mind control to create mind-controlled slaves, compartmentalized mind-controlled slaves with multiple personalities, to create assassins and programmers. We constantly program each other and we don't even know it. We constantly program ourselves. I call myself a retard all the time, but I know I'm an intelligent person. My friends call me stupid all the time, but they know I'm an intelligent person. I know they love me. And I just want to say that I do love my mom and dad, and I'm sorry I've driven you crazy all these years. And I love everyone that I know. And I love all my family, all my grandparents, my Grandma Kathy, Grandpa Jack. Thank you very much for always being there with me, no matter how crazy I sounded, and no matter how nervous I might have made you. And all my friends who were always there for me when I really needed help. Thank you. I love you guys. Jen and Nikki, Sam and Cassie, Ryan, Samantha, my best friend in the whole world, because I've done some mean things to her. She's done mean things to me. We've done mean things to each other, but we still love each other very much. And all of you out there, I want you to know that the reasons that you do these mean things to each other, it's not all of your fault. It's because we're programmed to do this to each other, and we can stop it. We program our children. You have no idea. When they're small and their brains are still developing, they're forming lifelong patterns in their brains, and they're mimicking us, and you have no clue how close they mimic us. I got my intelligence from my father, and I'm glad I used hallucinogenic drugs to expand my mind and expand my consciousness, and I plan on expanding it quite a bit further. And I'm going to learn magic, and I'm going to learn to use this quantum physics, because I already had started learning, and it's a nervous thing. And once I finish deprogramming myself of my emotion, most of my emotions, I don't want to get rid of all of my emotions. You can, but then you just turn into another type of emotion. Love is the most important emotion. True love, not the fake, if you love me you'll do this kind of love. True, unconditional love. Okay? I just want to tell everybody, please, wake up. Fuck the system. Get up. Turn off your TV. Smash your TV. Do something about this. It's the truth. It's obvious once you come to see it. Do something about it. I love you all, and I really, really hope that so many people see this, that it turns into a chain reaction, and that we start to evolve at an accelerated pace. So please keep me in your hearts and minds, and visualize knowledge coming to me faster and faster, because that's what I'm doing, and it seems to be working. Have a wonderful day, and have a wonderful life, and we can turn this planet into paradise, and we can drag the dream into reality, and we're gonna. Goodbye.